welcome to a special Gen Z episode of Electronic Quarterback today. We're here with Jeremy Simmons, who's a co-op student with us at BlueRush and goes to Waterloo and Laurier.
That's right.
At the same time, which he's going to explain that. And we just thought it'd be great to get some perspective from Jeremy today on leadership. And just because you work for me doesn't mean you need to be holding back here at all. But so Jeremy, you've had a chance through co-op and I guess through some of your direct efforts to work at 3 different companies.
Yep.
And if you don't mind, maybe just describe what those 3 companies are and or who, name them at least, and it'd be interesting to hear what kind of different leadership styles you've seen in these 3 different companies.
For sure. So the first company I worked at was called Blended Perspectives, and they were an Atlassian Platinum partner. So Atlassian's this big Australian company, and they're sort of a partner here in Toronto.
That's like the Jira?
Yeah, Jira, Confluence, all that stuff. So Atlassian makes those products, and then they have partners around the world who kind of sell and implement it. So I worked at that company. It was a pretty small company at the time. 10, 15 people. So I worked really closely with the co-CEOs there.
Mm-hmm. Co-CEOs?
Co-CEOs, there were 2 of them, exactly. So that was very interesting. Obviously, got to experience what it's like to work for a much smaller company that's at the beginning of their journey. So that was very interesting. After that, I had a co-op at OSFI. This was my last co-op last year. So much bigger than a 10-man company.
So you went from a 10-person startup to like dual CEO to a regulator.
Exactly, financial regulator, lots of structure, organization. I was within a small division, so I had my manager, and then I knew her manager, and then that was about it. I didn't get to really talk to the CEO of the company, and now I'm at BlueRush.
Yes.
Which has been a great time, and it's small, mid-sized company, so I do get to obviously interact with the CEO, work directly under the CFO, so that's been very interesting just to see how the company works, how decisions are made, what types of different leaders there are, so things like that. Very interesting.
And you can be honest, but like at BlueRush, do you feel like what our strategy is?
To an extent, yeah. I think I work closely with Dave, the CFO, so I get an understanding of how things work and where we're trying to go, what the goals are, the products. So that's been very interesting and definitely a good experience.
And what do you think we could do better, or I could do better, to communicate things like that? What are we trying to do? Where are we trying to go?
I don't know. Honestly, I've never really had a trouble understanding what was going on. During my time at the company, I've always, especially with Dave, been very clear what's expected of me, what's going on, meetings with you and understanding what the company's doing, what we're trying to achieve. It's been very transparent, which I think has been very good. Just really understanding.
Okay, mark that down. 10 out of 10. Okay.
There you go. 10 out of 10.
No, listen. I appreciate that. So, from the Gen Z perspective, okay, there's an internal debate of email, Slack,
right,
other modes of communication and collaboration. What are your feelings on? It's actually Microsoft Teams we use now, obviously, but on these tools as a replacement to email, are they better? Are they worse?
I think for Gen Z, especially, we've grown up with our cell phones. We've grown up with instant messaging, constantly knowing what's going on. So it's good with Microsoft Teams just because, if something's needed of me, like a message can just be sent to me just like that. I receive the message. If I need to check something or work on something, I can get the message right away. Emails are still useful, I think, for outlining larger projects and kind of, sending attachments and things like that. So I do see that, emails can still be useful, but I think the great thing about Teams is it's instantaneous. You can message back and forth, and then on top of that, there's sort of these like chat rooms or groups where a bunch of people can see what's going on. So instead of having an email chain with like 20 people, you can just have a nice room where everything's discussed.
Sometimes I find it a little harder to find documents, but but overall, I agree with you. I think these collaboration tools are better. So we were talking just before, and I thought this was interesting, but you and your friends in Gen Z mode, you're not finished school yet, you're looking to the future. How much do you think about things like AI and other disruptive technologies like that, where, I'm reading articles saying no more lawyers, no more accountants, maybe no more CEOs. They'll have AI CEOs eventually, maybe. I haven't read that article yet, though. But do you think about that when you're planning your career?
I mean, for sure, yeah. When thinking about what jobs will be there, what jobs won't be there, what new jobs could come in, definitely things we're thinking about. And I have a lot of friends at Waterloo who study computer science as well, so that's something they're very much into, like cryptocurrency, AI, and it sounds like they have it pretty set for them, computer science. I mean, I don't think we're going away from that anytime soon, and that's kind of the way of the future. Myself, studying math and business, there's obviously still a lot out there and still a lot to do, but we definitely talk about AI and what might still be around.
Maybe what careers not to pick.
Exactly, like what are things that are looking like they're getting replaced, getting no longer being as, things that 50 years ago people would have thought, oh, those are jobs that'll never go. And now we're here and things are changing for sure.
And were you not considering actuary?
Actuary. So a few years ago I was looking into actuarial science, but I feel like there's parts of it that are definitely changing, and with computers and automation, things can easily be taken over, and I feel like it's not as prominent a career path as it used to be, and so that's something I was considering, and now I'm kind of shifting away from that and looking at different realms within finance for sure.
Cool. So, and if you were to say take like 10 or 15 or 20 of your closer friends, colleagues at school, how many of them want to have a job, and how many of them want to start their own business?
That's a good question. I feel like, at least to start with, sort of right out of school, a good chunk of them want to have a job first, gain experience. Maybe 70% of them want to, just get a job, gain experience, maybe work your way up within an organization. But I have a few friends who either they say, I want to start to get a job, and then I kind of, once I've gathered that experience, made some money, kind of start my own thing. Or, there's always a few friends that are like, just right off the bat, I'm gonna do my own thing, be my own boss.
Why am I even finishing this degree? I'm already started a business. Do you have friends that have started companies already? Or people
Not that have fully started companies. There's always people you hear of. Like I know acquaintances and things like that are starting their own, and they call themselves CEO of whatever company they've started. But for the most part, it's more, they want to come up with an idea and work from there, and then create their own business and kind of work towards it. Definitely I have some friends who think about certain things that they could do.
Interesting. But most of them want to go in and work a little bit and learn a little
majority
bit first,
of them it's more work, and then
not a bad idea.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's true that you get start a business, you get to call yourself CEO, and then later on you can figure out if that was a good thing or not. But
put CEO on LinkedIn, that's always nice.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier as well that in your studies, you learn about management styles and leadership styles.
Yeah.
And have you seen any, have there been points where between these three companies that you've worked or different exposure where you were, so Steve's a little more like that, or the person that you worked for at OSFI is a little more like this, or are you seeing that those kind of models that they taught you are not relevant?
Well, I feel like I've definitely noticed differences in terms of management style. Like, we learn about how there's kind of two extremes. There's people who want to have full control, do everything their way, completely how they want it. And then there's more of a laissez-faire approach where it's like, I'm just going to step back, let you figure it out. And I feel like the best is kind of a mix of the two, someone that can, that knows when to step back and knows when to give freedom, but can also continue leading and being a manager. So that's something I found at BlueRush is, there's no one that's really trying to have full control and no one who's just letting everyone do whatever they want. It's a nice mix, and I feel like that's a very good ideal scenario to have is leaders who know when to step back, but also know when it's time to kind of manage and take charge.
Excellent. And so maybe you answered my last question, because I was going to ask you, down the road when you're leading teams or leading businesses, what do you expect that your management style is going to be?
Well, that's the hope. I'm hoping I can have that perfect balance between the two. Exactly.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks a lot for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
There's the perspective from Gen Z, not all of Gen Z, but at least a member of Gen Z. Thank you for watching this episode of Electronic Quarterback. Don't forget to rate, review, and of course, subscribe to our podcast. And we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.